Welcome to Flames of Freedom, Episode 9, Promise of a New Beginning, a docudrama based on actual historical events, brought to you by Lance Toland Entertainment. In the previous episode, we learned that not only were hidden Jews known as conversos being persecuted by the Inquisition, hatred toward the Jews was also playing out in Eastern Europe. Edict after edict by the Prussian king not only made it untenable for Jews to earn a living, they unleashed a torrent of vile hatred that soon turned bloody. I am told there have been edicts against the Jews by the Prussian king.
Yes, I thought we could go on with our lives like always, but this last edict was not like the others. It gave us no choice but to flee.
Others have told me that there has been increasing violence against us Jews.
Regrettably true. These edicts seem to have unleashed something horrible, seething under the surface. One morning, the town mayor posted an edict from the king. When I heard Gentile merchants shouting for our death, it made our decision to leave easier. What does it say?
The bastard king decrees we have to go.
What?
Start packing and get out now while you can.
Filthy vermin! We're sick of your stench!
Christ killers! Christos murder!
Take your dirty money and get off our land!
That's when things really got ugly. One of the merchants shoved an older man I knew to the ground, and others gathered around and started kicking him.
Judensau! Schwein!
I turned and ran as fast as I could to get home. I found Perla in the kitchen, cooking, and took her by the shoulders. "We are leaving, now!"
Leaving? For where?
"Anywhere but here. The king has just decreed we are no longer welcome, and there's a murderous gang of thugs rioting and killing Jews in the marketplace. Gather your clothes, anything you can carry by yourself in a satchel."
I have to say goodbye to my parents.
No time.
My sister!
Perla, if we want to be alive by the time the sun sets, we must leave Frankfurt now.
How did they escape?
Only by the grace of God and good fortune.
We made our way over the following days to Hamburg, often traveling at night, attempting to be as inconspicuous as we possibly could. I used most of my savings to pay off a ship's captain who was leaving for London. I have no idea how we are going to start over again.
What a horrifying experience.
We have no idea if Perla's parents got out.
We too lost everything when we fled the Inquisition at a moment's notice.
Tea and scones, Rabbi.
Thank you, David. Well, Benjamin, first things first. We will find you a place to stay temporarily until we can make more permanent arrangements.
We can make room. Zipporah, our youngest, can share a room with her sister Esther.
I hardly know what to say.
I'll say it. Thank you.
It is our honor, a gift to us to be able to help.
That's good. Thank you, Samuel. David, ask around the congregation to see what you can do to find a more permanent arrangement for Benjamin and Perla.
I never expected to be so welcomed.
This is what we do as Jews, isn't it? Give thanks to our Creator for guiding you here to allow us to fulfill the mitzvah of welcoming a stranger into our homes. We are all familiar with what it feels like to be a stranger in a foreign land,
Benjamin and Perla moved into our home for a few days before they got settled. Little did we know that our futures were to be intertwined. In the meantime, Senior Oglethorpe was busy promoting the idea of a new colony in America all over London.
sir. Good to see you again. Your flyers are ready.
They're perfect. Yes. 50 acres of land, tools, and a year's worth of supplies. Huh. No papists, no slavery, no rum. Well done. How much do I owe you?
10 pence, sir.
Thank you. And good day to you, sir.
Outside the print shop, the first person James Oglethorpe ran into on the sidewalk happened to be my brother, Daniel.
Have you heard, sir, of the new colony of Georgia?
No? What is that?
It's all right here in the flyer. We're seeking strong young men like you to help us build a new Zion in America. If you're interested, come to the address here at the bottom of the flyer to apply.
And will you accept Jews as well?
Perhaps. Why not?
Just curious. Thank you.
The possibility of starting afresh in a new world lit a fire in Daniel's heart. When he returned home, he and Moses came to our father with a problem and a proposal how to remedy it.
Papa, you don't realize what we must tolerate daily at work.
No one said that England is perfect. I'll be the first to admit it, but offhanded comments from shopkeepers or the men you work for are very different from whispered comments in Portugal that could land you in the Inquisitor's prison for your remaining years. And Moses, you now know what being in an English prison means. It's not something you want to repeat.
Papa, you don't have to rub it in. I learned that lesson, don't worry. But do you know how often I've been refused work? They can tell from my accent that I'm a foreigner and a Jew. I know people lie when they claim they already gave the work to someone else.
You have just had a run of bad luck. Remember, there is no shame in being Jewish.
Papa, your commitment to Judaism is bigger than mine.
Daniel, is this true for you too?
Yes. Everywhere I go, doors are shut in my face. How long do you expect us to live like this?
What other options are there? There's no returning to the past. Where would you go? Be happy to be in England, where at least you're free to walk the streets without threats of reprisal.
Papa, have you ever heard of the York Massacre?
No.
Englishmen slaughtered hundreds of Jews. Even those who surrendered and agreed to be publicly baptized were killed by the mob. The rest of the Jews committed mass suicide. What makes you think it won't happen again?
Moses, I'm not naive. I understand what we're facing, but we have no alternative.
But we do. We can go to the New World.
America?
Yes, Papa. America. Look at this.
A new colony?
Where every man receives his own land. It will be a fresh start for all of us, Papa.
No. You can't expect your mother and me to start our lives over again after we have already sacrificed so much to gain our freedom. Never.
But Papa...
We could risk everything we have gained by coming here. For what? A piece of barren property in a God-forsaken land? I said never. No more talk of America.
I thought that was the end of it, but bigger forces were conspiring to change our destiny. Anthony da Costa set those in motion when a month later he ran into John Perceval by happenstance in the White's Gentleman Club in London. Perceval was a nobleman, also known as Lord Egmont.
John, what a pleasant surprise to run into you. Anthony, a pleasure to see you as well. May I join you? Hope I'm not disturbing your reading. By all means, sit. How goes the world of finance these days? I was just reading that your Bank of England is doing quite well with its recent ventures in the colonies and paying handsome dividends. Yes, it seems like the future is bright there. Anthony, I want to thank you personally for supporting our efforts to establish a colony in Georgia. Our pleasure to be of assistance. Your colleague, James Oglethorpe, seems to be making quite a name for himself. Indeed, impressive young man. I would love to make his acquaintance. I'm told he's quite a philosopher in his own right. Yes, a student of that radical thinker, John Toland. I certainly don't agree with all his rhetoric, but I'd be delighted to introduce you. That would be a privilege. Thank you, John. Do you care to join me for a glass of port? Most kind.
A week later, James Oglethorpe was being shown into Anthony da Costa's drawing room. Joining da Costa were his two close friends, Alvarez Lopez Suazo and Francis Salvadori.
James, so glad to finally meet. Let me introduce you to my two colleagues, Alvarez Lopez Suazo and Francis Salvador. I believe the two of you have met.
Yes, so good to see you again, Francis. News of your philanthropic work precedes you.
Likewise. Since we last spoke, it seems all I read about in the press are your accomplishments in reforming our antiquated prison system. It's quite impressive. Congratulations.
Thank you. It has been a labor of my heart. You have no idea how corrupt and horrendous the prisons are.
Actually, I have had some first-hand experience of what these prisons can be like. But that's a long story. Please, James, have a seat. We'd like to hear more about your work and efforts to get the new colony off the ground. Can I offer you a glass of wine? It's a lovely French Burgundy.
Yes, thank you. You may not know this, but we expect the new colony to supplant France's wine production. I have it on good authority that the climate and soil along America's southeast coast are ideally suited for cultivating grapes.
If they can produce a good wine, I'll fill my cellar with it.
I must hold you to that promise, sir.
How are you progressing? I presume you know we have signed on as commissioners to assist in raising funds.
Yes, Percival told me. I appreciate your support. Any day now, I expect the king will provide his final approval. We'll sail for America in the next months, if all goes well.
We? You mean you will be leading the expedition?
Yes, indeed. And I'm looking forward to the challenge, the adventure, and the opportunity to accomplish something as monumental as this.
People are saying slavery will be prohibited in the new colony. You are a proponent of this.
Why, yes.
And it's rumored that you intend to provide a place for the destitute being released from the prisons.
That is our goal. But in the planning, we must ensure that certain skills are represented among the first settlers. Carpenters, doctors, and even experts in agriculture and sericulture.
Sericulture?
Yes, silkworms, Alvarez. We think the Georgia climate will be ideal for mulberry trees. Some are predicting it is bound to be a very successful export.
Fascinating. And I hear that the trustees want to make room for Protestants being religiously persecuted in Europe.
Most certainly. The trustees' sentiment is that we must right the grievous actions of the papists.
Interesting. We applaud your ideals. We are curious, what will the trustees' position be for accepting Jews immigrating from Prussia and those escaping the Inquisition? They are most certainly poor and, like your Protestants, persecuted for their faith.
Are you asking me what I think? Or what the majority of the trustees think?
We suspect that we already know what most of the trustees think. What would you think, hypothetically speaking, if a shipload of destitute and persecuted Jewish settlers were to arrive at the colony unexpectedly?
You do realize I too am a trustee in this endeavor, and I am tasked with representing their interests and wishes.
Of course.
So I have a responsibility to them and, ultimately, King George. As you must know from my writings and speeches, I hold no malice toward Jews.
Yes, we are very aware of that, and appreciative of your position. To Francis's point, if, hypothetically, a group of Jews arrived in the new colony, would you turn them away or welcome them?
I am uncertain what choice I would make. I suppose it would depend.
On?
The circumstances, sir. The circumstances.
While Oglethorpe was unwilling to take a public stand on the matter, his true feelings were revealed 2 weeks later on a warm summer day when he met with John Percival, Thomas Coram, and James Vernon for an emergency meeting of the trustees.
I'm sorry that more of our trustees could not be available on this short notice. I thought it imperative that we meet to confront a serious problem. I hate to admit it, but my eagerness to sign on commissioners to raise money may have opened the door to an unforeseen situation.
And that is?
We've allowed 3 Jewish gentlemen to become commissioners.
They are 3 of the wealthiest men in England. Why would that be a problem?
It has come to my attention from certain discreet sources that their expectations differ considerably from ours. How? In exchange for contributing monies to the effort, they want to send Jews to the colony.
That would be unacceptable. It would ruin everything we have worked for. Jews? They'll overrun the colony, and we'll never be able to attract a Christian soul to settle there. How do we stop this?
Mr. Coram, I for one do not share your point of view. Certainly there can be room for Jews along with others petitioning to settle in Georgia.
James, I'm afraid I concur with Thomas. I cannot see how this would be a positive development. If word of this gets around, we might lose the king's support, not to speak of the prime minister's. What say you, Vernon? Why don't we just revoke their commissions?
It's not quite that simple. We don't have clear procedures for disinviting commissioners articulated in our bylaws. I am with Oglethorpe on this issue, though, and see no real harm in having a few Jews go to the colony if they work hard and contribute to its success. The Jews I have known are an industrious lot.
Well then, with only 4 of us here, 2 opposed and 2 in favor, I see no reason for continuing this conversation until we can have a greater participation from all of the trustees. I'll arrange a full meeting to address this question. But let me say, James, I personally believe we are playing with fire here.
6 weeks later, in September of 1732, John Percival, James Oglethorpe, and the captain of the frigate Anne gathered on the docks to negotiate the fare for sailing the first settlers to the new colony.
Captain, I'd like to introduce you to Lord Egmont, one of our trustees.
A pleasure, sir.
This is a fine frigate you have here, Captain.
212 tons, sir.
No problem accommodating, say, 125 people on a voyage to America?
No problem at all. We just returned from Rhode Island this summer carrying 140 people and returning in early August with our hold filled with hemp. While it won't be luxurious accommodations, I can guarantee everyone will be comfortable on the journey.
James?
It's a sound vessel. The captain here comes highly recommended, and the price meets our expectations.
Very well. When can you be ready to sail?
We're completing some repairs. On our recent return, we suffered a cracked mast in a fierce storm in the North Atlantic. By the beginning of November, we shall be ready.
Sir, we have a deal then. I'll see that our bank deposits the requisite sum into your account. It's a pleasure doing business with you, Captain. And be certain to get Mr. Oglethorpe there all in one piece.
Will do my very best, sir.
If you don't mind, Captain, I'd like to speak privately with Mr. Oglethorpe on another matter.
Most certainly. Good day.
James, I have arranged a meeting of the trustees a week from this Thursday to discuss this issue of the Jews. It's my preference that we rescind the commissions of Soissons, Salvador, and Da Costa. Need I remind you how important perceptions are? I have nothing personally against the Jews, but right now we can't afford any ill publicity. Can I count on you to be with me on this?
I understand your position, John. I won't publicly oppose you in this meeting, but you must know this goes against my convictions, John. This is wrong. Very, very wrong.
A week later, in early October 1732, they met.
James, would you be so kind as to give us an update? Gladly. We have over 100 people committed to making the voyage, including several excellent carpenters, individuals who know the silk industry, and one with exceptional knowledge of growing grapes. Dr. William Cox has agreed to contribute his medical services in exchange for a house and a generous land allotment. We should depart within approximately 6 weeks. Thank you, James. Now, I would like to bring up one important piece of business. As you know, we appointed 3 of England's wealthiest and most prominent Jews as commissioners. It has come to our attention that these gentlemen do not intend to turn over to us the monies they have raised, but are actually mounting efforts to send a sizable contingency of Jews to the colony.
As I conveyed to Mr. Oglethorpe and Lord Egmont, this is outrageous. All of our labors to establish our colony could be destroyed in a fortnight by a marauding gang of Jews. Should Georgia become a Jewish colony, all of our good Christian settlers would desert it. This must be stopped immediately.
Thank you, Thomas. John, your opinion, please.
While I don't have such strong convictions as my colleague, Thomas is right on one key point. At this stage, we cannot afford any negative publicity. I move we send a letter to these commissioners demanding that they deliver to us any monies that they have collected on our behalf, desist from making any additional solicitations, and, if the rumors are correct, discontinue plans to send Jews to the colony. I believe Mr. Oglethorpe agrees with me on this proposal.
Percival looked in Oglethorpe's direction. Oglethorpe hesitated, held himself back from speaking, and then just nodded his approval.
Very well. Are there any additional comments before we put the matter to a vote? I see none. Therefore, all those in favour of John Percival's proposal, say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. The meeting is adjourned.
On November 17, 1732, over 100 people and their families were gathered at the Gravesend docks on the Thames River to journey to the New World to found the colony of Georgia. Oglethorpe enthusiastically greeted each one at the foot of the gangplank as James Vernon checked off their name from the list.
Your name?
Paul Lamartis.
Welcome aboard, sir. Your name?
Thomas Colston.
Welcome aboard, Mr. Colston. Your name, sir?
Richard Cannon. And this is my wife, Mary.
Yes, you're right here on the list. May you have a good voyage, Mrs. Cannon.
Oh, thank you.
One by one they boarded. The ship's crew guided the passengers below deck and assigned them bunk space. John Percival and many other trustees were there to see them off. By 10:30 that morning, all the passengers had arrived and boarded and were now standing on the deck with Oglethorpe and the Reverend Henry Herbert.
My friends, we are gathered here today on the first leg of the most important journey you or I will probably ever take in our lives. The ship we are on, His Majesty's ship, the Anne, is a tight, strong, and well-manned vessel. I can assure you we are in good hands. Reverend Herbert, could you share a few words of scripture to bless us for a safe passage?
Dear God, as it says in your Psalms, with upright heart he shepherded them and guided them with his skillful hand. Lord, may you protect our shepherd on this journey, James Oglethorpe, and fill him with thy Spirit so that he knows your will and guides us skillfully. And Lord, protect these travelers and those who man this ship from all evil and all harm. Please watch over us, for now and forevermore. In the name of our Lord Jesus Christ. Amen.
Captain Thomas, we are ready to depart.
Chief Mate Campbell, release dock lines and prepare to depart.
All hands on deck! Release dock lines! Stand by to make sail! Lay aloft and loose top gallants! Clear away the jib!
It was quite a sight that morning as Oglethorpe saluted Percival, standing on the dock. Percival saluted in return as the ship moved away from the dock and the sails filled with the wind.
Nona, did Costa and the other Jews give them the money back?
That in itself is an interesting story.
I thought you both would be interested in this communication I received Monday from the Georgia Trustees. Take a look at this letter.
Who the hell do they think they're dealing with?
Quite laughable, don't you think? How do we respond?
We don't.
Continue as planned?
Yes.
Your inquiries about the availability of a ship, any success?
I have located a small frigate, the William and Sarah, that can carry about 45 passengers. It's in for repairs but should be ready to sail by the first of the year. They have a young captain, somewhat inexperienced but adequate for our purpose. After all, it's a short journey.
The price?
Let's just say that the captain was eager to prove himself, resulting in a price well below our budget.
And you both feel assured that our new friend Mr. Oglethorpe will be receptive to a contingent of Jews showing up on his doorstep, considering the tone of this letter?
The trustees' prejudice against us Jews does give me pause. But my reading of Oglethorpe is that if push comes to shove, he'll be his own man and do the right thing.
And if he doesn't?
I firmly believe we won't have to cross that bridge. But if that occurred, our captain could divert his ship to the Caribbean.
I agree. So, who will lead our expedition to the New World?
Rabbi Nieto suggested one man, Samuel Nunez. I have some experience with him. Have you met him?
Yes, I believe I have. A converso from Lisboa. A physician, correct?
Yes, that's the man. I discovered that he was the King of Portugal's doctor.
I have not met him. What makes you think he's the right man?
Let us just say that he's a man of integrity, and he owes me a major favor.
How old is he?
In his early 60s, but healthy and strong, a natural leader.
Doesn't he also have 2 sons?
Yes, I understand they're quite enterprising, but their ambitions have been frustrated. Also, I have learned that Nunez's wife has not been particularly happy since arriving 6 years ago from Lisbon. Let me just say, being married to a country doctor meagerly serving the poor has not been her cup of tea.
Then arrange for us to meet.
I already have. Tomorrow at 3 in the rabbi's study.
Samuel, thank you for taking the time to meet. Allow me to introduce you to 3 highly respected members of the congregation. I believe you are acquainted with Anthony de Costa and Francis Salvador, but have not previously met Alvarez Lopez Suazo.
Yes, we have met before. And a pleasure to make your acquaintance, Mr. Suazo.
Samuel, please, have a seat. Anthony approached me a few days ago with an exciting proposition, and you came to mind. Anthony?
Thank you, Rabbi. Dr. Nunez, are you aware of efforts to create a new colony in America?
In fact, I am. A few months ago, my son showed me a flyer inviting people to join the colony.
Did you know that just a few days ago, the first shipload of passengers departed?
No, I was not aware of that. May God watch over them for a safe journey.
They're in good hands, led by a man named James Oglethorpe.
My path has actually crossed his, and I have read that he's made quite a name for himself.
Yes, he has. They plan to give people land and provisions until they can stand on their own 2 feet. I understand those with very little can become wealthy with just a little hard work.
All that is quite interesting, but why are you sharing this with me?
Doctor, we are going to send a group of Jews to live in this new colony. People looking for a new start. The rabbi seems to think that the proposition might intrigue your sons. And we're interested in someone with some authority and maturity to lead the effort.
Then why aren't you speaking with Moses and Daniel?
Because, Doctor, we had you in mind. We would like your sons to join the expedition with the rest of your family. But it's you we wanted to speak with first.
Gentlemen, I am honored you would ask me, but I'm no longer a young man, and it's a long journey. How would you expect me to start over again at my age, wilderness?
Dr. Nunes, are you and your family happy here?
Happy? We're alive. I no longer worry about some stranger or close relative reporting me and my family to the Inquisition. We have food on the table. My family isn't being tortured. So, I guess we are happy.
Sir, is it true you once ministered to the King of Portugal and even the Inquisitor General?
All that is true.
Impressive. Who are your patients now?
Poor Jews, most of whom can't afford to pay me much, if anything.
And your sons and sons-in-law, what are their future prospects?
I can't say.
Doctor, we want you to imagine a different future. One where your children can be independent, own land, and succeed, study Torah, not worry so much. We would happily provide you and your family with additional resources to ensure that their future is bright.
And all in exchange for leading this expedition?
Yes, Dr. Nunez.
You don't expect me to give you an answer at this moment, do you?
Of course not. This is an important life decision. Confer with your family.
I will, but you must know, if the decision were just up to me, my answer would be no.
We understand.
When would you like an answer?
The sooner the better. We're anticipating that the ship will depart sometime in January.
So soon?
Yes. Please let the rabbi know your decision. We hope your family convinces you that this is an exceptional opportunity for all of you.
Perhaps.
What happened?
Well, that evening we all gathered around the dining table to discuss the matter. My father initiated the discussion.
That is what they offered. I told them my answer would be a simple no if it were strictly up to me. But this is a family decision. What do you each say? Moses?
Papa, I once heard you say to Mama, it's never too late to start over again. America. It would be a fresh start for me, and I would no longer be doing the bidding of others. Everything I read about this new land excites me. Unlike London, where your place in society is fixed, frankly, I don't see a future here. But there, I could be my own man.
Daniel?
I'm with Moses. Here I'm nobody. I too would love to have a fresh start. I vote we go.
Rachel? Jacob?
I'm content with my life here. We have a home. Jacob has found good work. I don't want to raise a baby in a dangerous world, living like a savage. No, it's not for me. But if you all want to go, I understand.
Very well. Esther? Abraham?
Mama, Papa, wherever you go, I go. Abraham?
I'm always ready for a new adventure. I've read so much about the things they're growing there. I understand that they need vintners. I could have my own vineyard. Think of it, Esther.
I take that as a yes. What say you, Abigail and Isaac?
I have seen how hard Isaac works here and for so little in return. Isaac, if you want to go, I will follow.
I want to go.
Good. Zipporah?
Papa, it sounds like a grand adventure. I would like to try someplace new, especially if David Machado could be convinced to join us too.
I'll have a word with David. We haven't yet heard from you, my dear Rebecca. Your vote matters the most.
I want my children to be happy, to be successful. If London is not the right place, it's not the right place. Period. Is this Georgia a better place? Who knows? Maybe yes, maybe no. And if not, who says we can't find a better place?
Then that's a yes?
A partial yes. Rachel is pregnant. I can't leave her now. I'll join you later.
When?
Just a few months, that's all.
My dearest, we have never been apart for years. I can't even remember how long it has been.
I can. When we were both in prison nearly 30 years ago.
But we have no assurances there will be another opportunity.
God willing, I'll find a way. I promise.
If Mama doesn't go immediately, I will stay behind and help her with Rachel, and the two of us can come later.
But there may not be a later.
Papa, God, our Creator, has been with us every step of the way. He brought us safely out of Portugal. He'll bring us safely home to you and Abraham in America.
Hopefully. But we have yet to hear from one person who matters as much as anyone in this family. Shem Noah, your thoughts?
Shem Noah didn't say a word. He pointed at my father, then motioned westward and placed his hand on his heart. My father did the same and bowed to him before speaking what was on everyone's mind.
So it's decided then. I will speak with the rabbi tomorrow.
The next morning, my father met with Rabbi Nieto. Together, they composed the list of people to invite for the journey to America.
How about Abraham and Abigail Minus? He seems always to be struggling to keep his head above water.
I will speak with them, and his brother as well.
And the Sheftals?
A good choice. And I can think of half a dozen other Sephardic families who would likely want to come.
All very well, but I have a concern. How do we maintain our Judaism so far from you and Beavis Marks?
It most certainly will be challenging. That's why the Costa thought you'd be a good leader. You have learned the prayers, people respect you. But you do need a Torah, and I know a man who inherited one from his family in Amsterdam. He might be willing to contribute it. Eventually, please God, there will be children in this new land. Rabbi De Paiba has a spare circumcision box. In the meantime, begin getting your affairs in order. It is a long way from England, but hopefully one day, this place they will call Georgia, you will call home.
On the morning of January 13, 1733, with a chill in the air, we all gathered at the Gravesend docks to board the William and Sarah frigate. 42 of us slowly filed onto the ship. Among us were 33 Sephardic Jews, including my family and the families of Abraham and Abigail Minus, with their 3 children and brother, along with Benjamin and Perla Sheftel, all Ashkenazi Jews. My brother-in-law, Abraham de Leon, carried a box of fine wood in his arms. Inside was the donated Torah, inscribed on pieces of goat skin sewn together in accordion style, unlike the scrolls we're accustomed to today. Captain Hanson, a young man in his early 30s, shouted commands to his crew as we boarded the ship. My parents stood off to the side at one end of the dock. I saw my mother rearrange his scarf.
You'll catch a cold if you don't stay bundled up.
Right again. Without your vigilant eye, I have no idea how I would even know when to eat and sleep on the journey.
Stop it, or I'll begin crying. Promise me, you'll be safe.
I promise.
And you'll look after the boys?
My darling, they're not boys anymore. They need to look out for me.
And Zipporah. Her heart is broken because David decided not to come.
Zipporah is the least of my worries. I just hope she can be patient. If it's not David, there will be a good match for her.
I will be on the next ship once Rachel has her baby. I promise. Nothing, and I mean nothing, will keep us apart.
We never know what God has in store for us. Rebecca, mi amor, if we never see each other again, you have been the perfect wife for me. I can't imagine going through everything we have faced with anyone but you.
Neither can I. Now go. Go, or they'll live without you. We will write you every day and see each other again soon. Eu te amo, Samuel. Te amo.
This is the conclusion of Episode 9 of Flames of Freedom. Written by Richard Stone. Produced and directed by Mark Simon at Q-Tone Productions. Audio engineering, original music, and sound design by David Wilson. Executive producer Lance Toland. Special thanks to our ensemble cast. Zipporah, played by Angelina Santana. Benjamin, played by Jamie Tresalian. Samuel Nunez, played by Juan Pablo Gamboa. Rebecca Nunez, played by Gabriela Lopetegui. James Oglethorpe, played by Ian Russell. Additional roles played by Brad Davidorf, Francois Clemenceau, Roxanne Rittman, and Barry Stoltz. Thanks to Rabbi Saul Rubin, whose assistance throughout the development of the series was invaluable, and for their guidance and support of this project from its early inception. Special thanks to Rabbi Robert Haas of Congregation Mikveh Israel in Savannah, Georgia. Rabbi Rachel Bregman of Temple Beth Tefillah in Brunswick, Georgia. Rabbi Shalom Morris of Beavis Marks Synagogue in London, England. And Lord Peter Levine of London City, England. And the Jewish Heritage Alliance for their support. This has been a production of Lance Toland Entertainment. Copyright 2024. All rights reserved. Flames of Freedom is a docudrama based on actual historical events. To learn more about this story, the actors, and the backstory of its production, join in on the conversation on Facebook at Flames of Freedom or at flamesoffreedom.net.